Welcome to the Earth+Flax studio. Today I want to show you the best solvent-free method for painting bare wood interior trim and paneling with the Ottosson Linseed Oil Paint. I plan to cover surface prep, priming, painting, and cleanup. Let's get started. The materials I'll use for this project are Ottosson Linseed Oil Paint, in this case Ottosson Warm Gray, Ottosson Boiled Linseed Oil, a linseed oil based interior wood filler like Rubinol, Shellac Flakes dissolved in denatured alcohol, Linseed Oil Soap, several paint stirrers, and a glass jar or two to mix my primer. After installation, I filled nail holes and any small cracks with Rubinol, a linseed oil based wood filler, followed by some hand sanding. You want to ensure a clean, dry surface on which to paint on. Before moving forward, I want us to take a look at this paneling. As you can see, there's quite a few knots, and I'm a little worried that it's going to bleed through my paint job over time. So I'm going to take some shellac flakes, dissolve it in denatured alcohol, which will create this syrup, and I will brush that on just the area where the knot is to create a thin barrier that will offset that bleed through or discoloration of my paint job over time. I quickly wanted to chat about brushes. When working with linseed oil paint, it is ideal to have a stiffer bristle brush. The difference between natural or synthetic bristle really comes down to personal preference. I am not the most tidy painter, so I do like to have some smaller, cheap craft store brushes on hand as well, in case I'm cutting in along a wall I've already painted or a cabinet I've already installed. You can also wipe on the paint with a clean cloth or rag. So experiment, try different brushes, different methods, see what works the best for you. Linseed oil paint is its own primer, so you don't need a separate product to prime these surfaces with. The manufacturer recommends 30% linseed oil paint to 70% purified linseed oil when working with bare wood surfaces. My next step will be mixing the Ottosson Warm Gray with Ottosson Boiled Linseed Oil. I'm choosing the boiled linseed oil in this case for its larger molecular structure and its faster dry time. That will be quite helpful when working on projects inside, especially during cooler times of the year. Open your paint can carefully with a flathead screwdriver, working your way around the edge of the lid until it pops off. Mix your linseed oil paint very well before each use. Remember, this is real pigment, not chemical dyes. The most efficient method for mixing linseed oil paint is to use a kitchen stick mixer or a paint mixing attachment for your drill. Be sure that you've incorporated all the pigment that may have settled at the bottom of the can. I like to mix my primer in a metal or glass container with a lid if I can. I have already marked my 30-70 ratio with a Sharpie. Once ready, pour your linseed oil paint into your prepared container. Pour until you've reached your 30% ratio mark. Then pour your Ottosson Boiled Linseed Oil to your 70% ratio mark. Mix your linseed oil paint and Ottosson Boiled Linseed Oil very well. You want to ensure you fully incorporated the two, and now you have your linseed oil primer. Apply a relatively thin, even coat of your primer. A little goes a long way, so ensure that you brush it out as you apply. Let it soak in and dry fully before you apply your additional coats of paint. Ideally, you should paint in 60 degrees or warmer temperatures when painting with linseed oil paint. Essentially, this is a linseed oil stain, the combination of linseed oil paint and purified linseed oil. Be sure to store your primer with a tight lid. To avoid cleaning your brushes excessively, store in between workdays in purified raw linseed oil. Be Be sure you brush out the excess raw linseed oil from your brush before you continue painting. Be sure to dampen and dispose of oil-soaked rags at the end of each workday in order to avoid a fire hazard. It's been a few days, and as you can see, our primer coat looks beautiful. We could leave as is. This is a linseed oil stain. There's no reason you have to paint these surfaces. But the wood used for the wainscoting is lower quality. There's more knots and imperfections. So I think that a painted finish would be more durable in the long run. So my next step is to apply 2 undiluted coats of linseed oil paint. Apply relatively thin, even coats, either with a stiff bristle brush or a clean cloth. Be sure that each coat is completely dry before you apply the next coat. A lot of people ask me, how do you achieve relatively thin, even coats when painting with linseed oil paint? The key here is not just to slap the paint on and walk away. You can't get away with that when working with a real oil-based paint. You want to apply with a stiff bristle brush or a clean cloth and actually brush the paint out across a surface. Sometimes we say stretch it out. The Ottosson brand of linseed oil paint almost has a little bit of a stickiness, so you'll feel that sort of tension as you're brushing the paint out, and that's something to be aware of, not only to get your best coverage, but also to get the most beautiful finish. Here we are at our finished bathroom project. To recap, remember I prepped my surfaces. I did a primer coat of 30% linseed oil paint to 70% Ottosson boiled linseed oil, and then 2 undiluted coats of linseed oil paint to finish. I hit a few spots where I used the linseed oil wood filler on my paneling especially with a 3rd coat as needed. These are my recommendations for painting interior bare wood surfaces using the Ottosson Linseed Oil Paint. These steps can be used on a wide range of projects, including trim, cabinetry, furniture, doors, window sashes, and many more. Thank you for joining me on this project. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to info@earth+Flax.com or explore the website at www.earth+Flax.com. You can always leave a comment below and follow us on Instagram.